Good morning all to join with us for the workshop of design thinking, critical thinking and innovation design. So today we have two eminent speakers, Dr. M. Durgamohan sir and Mr. Vishal Pandey sir. So let me introduce first Dr. M. Durgamohan sir. Dr. M. Durgamohan sir is an alumnus of Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, New Delhi, with a Ph.D. in marketing from B.R. Ambedkar University, Agra. He has 12 years of academic experience and 18 years of industry experience. He is currently working as professor and director of Bhavan Usha Lakshmi Mittal Institute of Management, New Delhi. His previous assignment were professor and head of the Department of Management Study, JSS Academic of Technical Education, Noida, and professor and head School of Management and Entrepreneurship at IIMT, Oxford Brookes University, Gurgaon. He is also a soft skill trainer since 2004, specializing in the area of time management, cross-culture management, cross-culture communication, and English language. He has received Best Faculty Award for 2 consecutive years from the Tata Consultancy Services, and he is also a visiting professor at University of Applied Science, Austria. So I would like to thanks Dr. Durgamohan sir for accepting our invitation. Our next speaker is Mr. Vishal Pandey sir. Mr. Vishal Pandey sir is positioned as HR Manager at Readycoder Pvt Limited. He is that Readycoder Pvt Limited is a platform that provides all digital solutions to the startups and businesses. And he pursued bachelor degree from PSIT Kanpur. He has also worked as resource person and delivered invited lecture in several workshops. I am again thankful to Mr. Vishal Pandey sir for accepting our invitation and join this ceremony. Now, I would like to request Dr. Durgamohan sir kindly deliver the invited.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for the nice introduction. And also good morning to all the participants, and special good morning to Mr. Vishal Pandey, my co-speaker. Great to see all of you. I'm going to speak about, let's say, critical thinking, but more so to do with thinking, and then a bit of critical thinking, because thinking and critical thinking are, they overlap. So we all do thinking, and but at the same time we need to understand what it is. And before I go into the PPT and try to tell you certain things that we have, especially as Indians, I don't say there are issues, but these are cultural aspects that we need to keep in mind. And when we talk about cultural aspects, there is something that is very unique to our culture, is we respect elders. We respect elders. And when we respect elders, what is it that we do? Can somebody tell me? We accept whatever they say, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So that is cultural and nothing wrong with it. No, nothing wrong with it. Yeah, and when I say nothing wrong with it, it has to do with nothing wrong with it, and it has to do with something that I always talk about. It's 10,000 years that we means humanity or human beings, we have become agriculturists. And so if you could talk of India, it's also that maybe it is 10,000 years or maybe a little more, little less, that we have been doing agriculture. And even till date, that is as of today, or 2022, you all know that 70% of our population is still dependent on agriculture. And this 70% population, whether you call it, you must have been taught about unemployment, disguised unemployment, then underemployment, all kinds of things that exist within this domain of agriculture in India. What is it? It is unpredictable. And at the same time, when you talk about unpredictability, I give this thing that rather a fact. Some time back, we imported supercomputers, and the person who actually installed the supercomputers was my fellow HOD at GSS. He was heading the MCA department at that time, and we imported the supercomputers from USA basically for weather forecasting. So we went further, and we came out with we imported a model. It has 38 parameters and all that. And the previous government of UPA, when Kapil Sibal was the science and technology minister, he scrapped it and he said, no, we're going to come out with a new model. They again came out with a weather forecasting model. In spite of it, we cannot forecast the weather properly. Okay, in the sense that when we talk about precipitation, that is the amount of rainfall that happens in a year, naturally the department of what you call Mausam Vibhag, as they call it, it's in Lodi Road in Delhi. So they predict, but again they keep changing the forecast from time to time. Now, when we are dependent on agriculture, it is experience that matters. Okay. There's a village from which I come from, even though I was not born and brought up there, we come from the Godavari Delta in Andhra Pradesh. So our village, there used to be a village, one person, in the height of summer. We are very close to the coast, so maybe around 20 kilometers from the coast. So there is always moisture there. But in spite of it, they used to tie a little bit of cotton in the night in the field. And this person used to go in the morning before the sunrise and used to just press it and say that, okay, the monsoon is going to be like this, we'll get so much of rain and all that. Naturally, he is revered. Respected is something, but we go much beyond that. So experience, and people who are older to us, we respect them because of their experience they carry, and because of this one reason, or one key reason. And why I say a key reason is, please, 70% of our population even today are dependent on agriculture for their livelihood. Now, if that is the case, there is nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong with it. However, we cannot progress. And when I say progress, we cannot do things differently. And doing things differently, how is it called, or what is it called in the domain of management and the jargon word that we use? Or
innovation.
Great, innovation, great. Yeah. So innovation. So people may not agree with what I'm saying. That innovation is not, I just read maybe 10 days back that doing things differently is not innovation. Absolutely. But then it may not be 100% innovation, maybe 10%, maybe 20%, maybe 30%. But then if you have to do things differently, you have to question the present. So when you have to question the present, when I say you have to start asking questions. If somebody would not have asked this question, that how, we have the traditional agriculture. Again, I'm giving you the same example. And we use what you call the traditional manure. And then this is the yield that we get. But then how to increase the yield? So somebody questioned it. And because of this, we have what we call as the green revolution that happened some time back, or it is more called a wheat revolution, whatever it is. We have food in surplus today, which is again, the surplus is not actually the surplus, but however, let's just go by what the statistics of Government of India says. Otherwise, we would have been importing, we would have been having another Bengal famine, not one, maybe hundreds of them by now, or maybe tens of them by now post independence. So that questioning the present is something that we need to inculcate in ourselves. So when it has to be questioning, I go back to respecting elders, which is a part of our culture. Thereby don't ask them, don't question them. Okay. Now that is something that is ingrained in us, because from childhood, we have been directly and indirectly taught about it, taught. And if you do not follow, you are admonished, you are punished. Okay, so please remember, this is very important, because as Indians, to get into a different frame of mind from what we are, and that is what is needed. That is what is needed. So when we talk about innovation, yeah, as you have rightly said, there is nothing wrong with the innovation. There is nothing wrong with looking at things in a different manner. But if humanity has to survive, we need to look at the present day things from a different perspective. That means we should start questioning. Okay, so that is one skill, equally important, but it is a mindset. Just don't go blindly by. I'm not saying you should not respect your elders. Absolutely not. You should respect for various reasons, and which will also I will tell you in the course of time. So that is one aspect. Please keep this in mind, that by nature, and when I say by nature, culturally, we are not taught to question the present, to question what is happening. Okay, and thereby, when it comes to critical thinking, it will be a kind of difficult, barrier that exists, but at the same time, it is a latent barrier. That means it is not seen, and it's difficult to cross that barrier. So keep this in mind. It's very important that this is always there. We carry our cultural bag. It's a virtual bag, I say, that we carry with ourselves, and it does influence the way we, what shall we say, behave, we think, we behave, we manage people, we manage resources, etc. Okay, so this is as an introduction, and going to further to what is it that we are going to do. Let me see and share. I hope you can see something. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Sir, your presentation is not appearing yet.
Okay.
But you are started sharing.
Yeah.
Presentation is not visible yet.
Okay, 1 second. Let me see.
Yes.
I'll share it again. Doesn't matter. Wait. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. There are 4 people in the meeting. I think you have to admit them. Yeah, it is showing 3
yes,
people.
Sir.
Okay, great. So I just put this so you all know that this boy is thinking, and that is what we do from that age. Okay, now what happens as a child, okay, is something, please remember, this is very important, that as a child, from the time we start having solid food, so maybe around 6-8 months, okay, you start recognizing people. Okay, and when as a child, as a baby, I'm saying, your vision will be only this much, and over a period of time, it improves and you can see far things. Okay, otherwise, so what happens is you must have seen, which you have experienced, but you don't remember because you are too young at the time, is that the child or the baby recognizes the mother. Because when somebody comes close to the baby, she or he starts crying because they can't recognize this face. And that's where the thinking comes into picture, because they have in their mind already a picture, 2, 3 pictures, and they will start comparing the baby. Oh, this is somebody whom I don't know. And thereby they start crying because that's how they express their displeasure. That, look, you are a stranger to me. So thinking starts from there. It's not that, it is something that only happen in grown-ups, or it's only that you start going to school, it happens. No, the only thing is that we need to admit, that yes, this is a process that happens all the time. Okay. Now, this is basically from psychology, so I'll share this with Mr. Kumar, so he can also share with you this PPT. There's no issue. They talk about cognition, and it's a mental process involving gaining knowledge and understanding. Comprehension means, that is what I said with the baby. These processes, these cognitive processes, that is cognition, is a mental process, include thinking, knowing, remembering, judging, and problem solving. Now, for us, the most important aspect is this automatically comes when you talk of knowing, remembering, but then here, thinking, judging, and problem solving. Now, what is it that we do when we think? We take decisions. And decision making is something that we do every day. Now, please don't think that decision making means, okay, what is that? Mukesh Ambani sitting in the boardroom and saying that we're going to acquire this company, or we are going to acquire, we will acquire Big Bazaar or Future Group or something else, or we're going to enter, what you call e-commerce, yeah, in an indirect way, not direct way, like Flipkart or Amazon came into the market, yeah, etc. No, we also do this. We also take decisions every day and every maybe part of the day. So please remember, that's important, that the decisions taken, because when you take a decision, you are looking into the future, which is unknown. And what is unknown is fearful, because we don't know. It is something like this, that if you have ever driven in foggy conditions, okay, then you know that the headlight of your vehicle goes only 2 feet, 3 feet. You don't know what is beyond that, and so it makes you nervous. It makes you that the fear of the unknown, I call it. So it is something like that. But at the same time, when you take a decision, there's risk involved. And please remember, when we are talking of risk involved, it has to be a calculated risk. And that is what we're going to look at. So you can just, I'll give you a minute. I don't want to read it for you. You can read it yourselves. Okay, so again, it's a cognitive activity, using our brains to make sense of the world around us and decide how to respond. I gave you this example of the baby, and that's what it is. How the baby responds: by crying or by smiling. If somebody known face, the baby starts smiling, so it's welcome. If not, starts crying, and that's what it is. However, this is what, it's very early in life, which I gave you the example. When we interact with others, we learn values. I told you right in the beginning as an introduction, the cultural issue, and this is value systems are part of the culture. That is, respecting our elders in Indian context is a value. And we need to follow it. I'm not saying that please, but then that you have to keep in mind that this is a kind of an hindrance. This is a kind of a barrier that exists for us as Indians. This aspect is very important. If you are to be accepted in a social group, we're expected to think and act in ways that are harmonious with the group culture. And we all of you have, what you call experienced what I have written here. And what is it? We have informal groups. And when we talk of informal groups, 4, 5, 6, whether it's in an educational institution amongst your classmates, you can see if you're a class of 60, at least there will be maybe 10 to 12 informal groups. It can be overlapping also. Okay. And in these informal groups, there are norms. And that is, you're all expected to think in the same manner. That means you follow those unwritten norms. And that also is responsible for the way we think. Okay. So we want to conform to the social group. And this has also happened, nothing to do with critical thinking, is that you want to enter one of these informal groups, they will not allow you to enter. So it is in the canteen, you're sitting 4 of you and having lunch, and the 5th guy comes in, or 5th person comes in. All the 4 will stop talking. They will even stop eating, and they start looking at why this intruder. Because that intruder, I am calling the word intruder because he does not conform to the group's norms, group's behavior, and the way they think. Okay, so that is something that please keep in mind. And what does thinking help us? And there's something here, and then we take off to why it is important, and I'll tell you. Recognizing, which I told you, remembering, because when we talk about memory, we remember, and there is something active and passive, which you all know. Yeah, so thinking also helps us to remember, but that remembering things or persons or actions, yeah, is something that also helps us in thinking. And sorry, not in thinking and coming to or taking decisions. Reasoning uses principles of argument to assess facts, causality to determine what actions may lead to what outcomes, and how probable success or failure might be for various strategies. I'll just give you an example right at the moment, which I think we are all facing, as the world is facing, is this so-called Omicron variant of the coronavirus or COVID, whatever you call it. What is it? They have, you see, it is basically based on the knowledge that we already have and the experience that South Africa has faced. So everybody is saying that in the next 10 days, it will peak in India and then it will rapidly fall. And that, what did they do? They assessed the facts. Please remember. And the facts are, this has happened in South Africa because Omicron came from South Africa, or rather it originated, this mutant variant of COVID. And what happened there, it went up and went down like this. And based on those facts and the causes, why it happened, because they say it is a mild variant. It doesn't go beyond the nasal passages. It does not affect the lungs. And thereby, what actions? And what is the government doing? Even yesterday, the Delhi government said only private offices to be closed. The reason is they also gave certain other facts. And what are those facts? Is the number of people getting hospitalized, the number of people on oxygen support, and the percentage of patients hospitalized, percentage of patients who are COVID positive or on oxygen support, and percentage of patients who are on ventilators. So if you see that, it's a very, very minuscule percentage of the total number of people at the moment tested positive. And thereby, the decision that DDMA took yesterday, what did they say? They said, close restaurants and bars. They allowed 50%, but the number of cases are going up, but the positivity rate, there is another fact, okay, was upwards of 25% in Delhi. So they said, okay, we allowed 50%, now close restaurants and bars. And why we should close? Now, you are supposed to wear this mask, yes? Now, if I'm wearing the mask, can I eat? I cannot eat, I have to take it out. The second is, you go to a bar, if you have to drink, naturally you take out your mask. When they made mask as compulsory, and Arvind Kejriwal came online or on TV on last Saturday or Sunday, and he said, if you wear mask, I will not impose lockdown. This is what he said. Okay. Now, if you're making that compulsory, you cannot allow, and thereby that, see, what the hospitality industry says is also correct. I'm not saying, but the decision taken is based on this proper reasoning. And if what happened in South Africa also gets repeated because it's the same variant, then maybe in the next 15 days, everything will become almost normal. From a pandemic, it becomes an endemic, as they call it. Now, that is a decision taken. And from whatever analysis or whatever I did, which I explained to you, I feel that it's the right decision. Because again, please remember, this decision, they're going to review after 8 days. That's what DDMA said yesterday. That means for the next 8 days, they kept, it's not 1 week, usually they take one, week to week. They said 8 days we will review. Now in 8 days, they will again have facts and figures. They will put that together, try to understand how they interact with each other. That's analysis. And take a decision whether to relax or to tighten the lockdown. Okay. So if you will please keep this in mind, facts are important. And the causes. Causes are also facts. So you just keep this in mind, that facts, as we say, facts and figures are very, very important. Okay. Then further, this is okay. We will not go further, into it. It says imagining and emoting. Yeah, but we will do this. Deciding. I'll try and make it bigger because it is too much to actually read, but it doesn't matter. Okay. Deciding is the last step before acting, where we consider various options and choose those that seems to be most advantageous. Even though we may be confident at the moment of decision, there are many well understood decision errors and traps into which we regularly fall. So decisions are based on assumption of correct basic data, the facts. Please remember, now I'm not saying facts, it has to be correct facts. So with false facts or theories, even reasonable choice will become wrong, will come to wrong conclusions. As computer people say, garbage in, garbage out. Okay. This can be a trap when truth of the facts cannot be tested. Now, what is it that, okay, we'll come to the decision making and we'll finish off this so that we will not spend much time. Okay. Then, thinking makes what we are, yet it is a complex and deeply flawed process. It's always flawed, means there is a lot of issues with the thinking. Even as we may be quite confident that we are correct in our thoughts, conclusions, and consequent actions, it is flawed. Changing minds activity often needs to have a significant effect on how people think, yet it can be harder to change thoughts than we may hope. So please remember, it is not so easy. What I'm going to talk further, it's not so easy because I put one rider in the beginning, the cultural rider. The second is we are used to a certain kind of thinking. And when we say a certain kind of thinking, okay, now if anybody knows that Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats, can somebody tell me? He talks about 6 thinking hats. And I say Rather not, I say most of our Indians, we always wear a black hat in that, because there's a white hat, there's a red hat. So what is the black hat? And De Bono said, it's not a bad hat, it's essential. But if you do it to the extreme, then it becomes a stumbling block. And this black hat, as he says, is what is it? We start inverted commas I'm putting, that means it's not, you need to look at it, this word. We are very, very what? We are not critical of things, but we criticize actions. So when you talk of critical thinking, it is not criticizing. So no, please, take this away from your mind. So we are not wearing a black hat. No. Okay, so that is one important aspect. The second is when it says it's a flawed process, and that is the reason that so many decisions fail when implemented. How many times we say, we look at the world like I am wearing these reading glasses. So we look at the world through the glasses that we always wear, they're virtual glasses. And we look at the world as what? There are two kinds of people in this world. We call the optimist and the pessimist. No, I call it, it's a continuum between optimism and pessimism. We lie somewhere there. We are not that all the time we are optimists, but then we tend to be more optimists, we tend to be more pessimists. Okay, now when we look at optimists and pessimists, it's a way of thinking. The pessimist will, you give any number of facts and figures, the pessimist will always say, oh, nothing can happen. Okay, whereas the optimist are tending to be towards the optimistic side, he or she will say, yes, it's possible. Okay, so when we talk about
Sir, you are muted.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so when we are looking at this aspect, I go back to the, yeah. Okay, so when I say our, what you call, thinking is a flawed process, because the basis of thinking is the facts. And please remember, your facts have to be appropriate. That means it's not that something, in statistics we call correlation, but it's called nonsensical correlation. You can always establish correlation between two factors, but then, and prove mathematically, okay, it's 70%, but they may be absolutely nothing to do with each other. Okay, so it can also happen like that, but most of the time, the facts are flawed. So we need to have correct facts, we need to have appropriate facts. If that is done, that homework, then your decision making will be appropriate. Again, I'm saying there is risk taking there, and it's a calculated risk. Okay. It is not, I always say risk taking, I gave this example, is that it's a little old example that, what you call, but no, it's a recent example. I can change it and give you this. And what is it? We talk about this Kaun Banega Karodpati, and they say there is a question that comes for the audience. And you answer that question, you may get 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakhs, whatever it is. If you happen to be there, if not, you lose that 5 rupees or 10 rupees it costs you to send that SMS. Okay, now you lose everything there. The risk is the highest. At the same time, for this 5 rupees that you invest, your returns are also the highest. You can never have it. So you don't take that kind of a risk where you lose everything. You take a calculated risk. When I say again, I'm repeating this word so many times, so don't get worked up. I said facts, it has to be correct facts, And not only correct, they have to be appropriate facts. Now, when we talk about critical thinking, and what is it? It says a reasoned, purposive, introspective approach to solving problems or addressing questions with incomplete evidence and information, and for which an incontrovertible, that is unquestionable solution is unlikely. This is in 1999, Rodenbaker said, and it is a fact. You don't have complete facts. Please remember this. If you have complete facts, then all this, what I said for the last, more than, 35 minutes is not needed. One, we don't have complete evidence, that is facts. The second is the information that we get may not be so correct. So in this situation, decision-making becomes much more difficult. So what is critical? Now, when we talk about critical thinking, what is it that we are talking about is, we say it is evidence-based reasoning. Now, the last slide I showed you, I'll switch over to another PPT and show you something. Evidence, it says, and when I say evidence-based reasoning, and we talked about reasoning, okay, you need to see that okay, I'll share this another aspect, and then you will start. I only put it only for a different reason. I'm not saying that you should really see it. And what is the reason? I will. Okay. Now you see, it's not today. 1605 wrote the first book on critical thinking in the advancement of learning, in which he documented various forms of human irrationality. Now, the whole world, sorry, the whole of economics is based on that human being is a rational being. And that's how economics talks about, and that's how Adam Smith, and he wrote his first book on Wealth of Nations. And over a period of time, the economists have realized that we are not rational, we are irrational. If we are rational, marketing will not exist. No offense meant to the marketing people. Okay. Please remember that what does marketing, in a lighter vein, somebody said this, and which is a fact, what does marketing do? It makes you buy things which you don't need. It makes you buy services which you don't need. Most of the time, that's what it is. So when do you take a rational decision there? No, irrational. So this human irrationality, it's not today, it's science immemorial. And that's what it is. Socrates, 2,400 years back, discovered a method of probing questioning. I talked about questioning skills, that people often could not rationally justify their confident claims to knowledge. So it is as old as that, and yet we don't follow. Okay. This is what it is. Of late, it has become no emotions here. And like I said, rational and emotional, there are again a continuum. It is like this. Not somebody is rational and somebody is emotional. I always give this when I teach cross-cultural management. I said, okay, if you talk about people from Western Europe, people from US, they're very rational, they say. And I give an example, don't they fall in love? Don't they get married? It's also emotional. It's not a rational decision. Because if what you're going to, what happens after falling in love and getting married, it's an emotional decision. Only thing, it's on a continuum. Please remember, they are not two different things. They are somewhere we learn. If you are tending to be more emotional, as they say, as you move towards the east, that's what West Europeans say, the weather becomes warm and the people become warm-hearted. That means we are become more emotional. Not that there is no rational side to us, it's also there. It includes the ability to engage in reflective and independent thinking. That's fine. This is what it means. it entails the examination of those structures or elements of thought implicit in all reasoning, purpose, problem, and all this. So let's not get into it because I've already taken almost 38, 40 minutes. How much time more I have, Mr. Kumar?
Sir, you can take as.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to do a certain small things where we do have, a misconception. So that's why I said criticizing and critical are different. What is critical means it's most important. Okay, in one way. Now we talk about the atomic energy and atomic power plants. They say that the reactor has gone critical. That means it starts generating heat. Okay, so it becomes an important milestone there. So it is something like that. See now what happens. It is concerned with identifying reasons, evaluating reasons, and giving reasons. Now, let's go by an example. And the example is, you all know that there's a chip shortage. I think you would have read about it. And what is the chip shortage leading to? It is leading to that car manufacturers in India cannot increase their sales because the production is not going up. Okay, so why the production is not going up? The reason is chip shortage. Now you evaluate the reasons. And why the chip shortage? Because the global supply chains are affected thanks to COVID. There's a problem with China. There's so many other things. Let's not get into it. But the reason is there is chip shortage. Consequently, sales, what would have happened has not happened. And what is the evidence for it is for certain models, this is again published. I'm not saying I have a preview, means I know insights, what is happening of Maruti Suzuki or Hyundai or Tata Motors. But what has been published in certain models of cars, there's a waiting period of 8 to 9 months. That means people want to buy, but it is not there. And why it is not there? Because of the chip. And the chip is the heart and the mind, not the heart, the mind of a car today. It's also a mind of a two-wheeler. Now it does many things. Yeah, these are, it's a computer actually. Okay. So now what is it that, they took a decision. It came very recently last week, the car manufacturer. You go to the car showroom, they still want to increase the sale because that is the objective of any marketing and sales department, is to increase the sales. So they would have projected that, okay, this year 20% increase over last year, or 30%, because the last year's, that is 2021, the base is very small because of the lockdowns, the market shrunk. Now they are not able to. Now go back to the production side, which we will come back to. Okay, because let me complete this part. What are arguments? Do not go by arguing. No, arguments here means the reasons for a claim. They are called an argument. I made an argument, and the claim is why the sales are not what they expected. It's not because the people don't want to buy new cars, but because shortage of cars in the showroom. And when the shortage, and why? Because the chips are not there, so the car cannot come out of the factory. In other words, an argument is simply a claim to defend with reasons. The claim, I said, is there is a shortage. Sorry, their sales have not as budgeted. And the reasons are, which I gave you one reason. Now, in this situation, you have to take a decision as the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. They have taken a decision. And what is it? Obviously, on the face of it, the question I asked, you will think, okay, what is this? How can it be? Because the production is not there. If the production is not there, how can sale go up? Yes or no? Illogical. But somebody found a solution for it. And that person who found a solution, he has taken a decision. It is working. And maybe that company will have the same that is much more than their competitors. And what is it? Any idea? So please, this is another what you call request. I don't suggest. I always request is that please read. You need to keep abreast of the developments and make sense out of it, because most of the time, what happens is we don't have the correct facts, that is information, the appropriate facts we don't have, but most important is we have old facts and figures which have absolutely no role to play, and thereby erroneous decisions are made. Okay, we need to learn from others. We need to learn that yes, when you see there is the end of the road, means there's a huge wall that has been built. You cannot cross that wall because it is 40 feet or 50 feet high and you're on your foot. You don't know how to climb mountains or these sheer faces of rock climbing and all. You're not equipped with it, so you can't go up. No, somebody will find a way to cross it. Like what happened with the French and the Germans. You know what happened? The French built huge walls in the borders between Germany after World War I, thinking that, look, the Germans cannot climb and come, so we are safe. No, they went around it. Okay, the wall is not forever. So wherever the wall ended, so the German army went around the wall and then entered the French territory and the French were defeated. So it's a solution. Anybody who read can tell me what is the solution? We have 88 people. So somebody should tell me. No? Okay. I'll give you, I'll little bit for 5 minutes. I'll move away from critical thinking and thinking and tell you.
Yes, dear participant, you can unmute yourself and you can interact with the speaker. Actually, I have said disabled the
okay.
unmuting
Oh, you
option.
can put it into the chat box. You put it into the chat box, yes. I can see.
Yes, sir.
Good
okay,
morning,
somebody
sir.
has asked. Let me see. Yeah, sorry.
Sir,
yeah.
Sir, can you please repeat the question?
The question is, which I was, that's why I stopped sharing so that I can see all of you names, if not the faces. What I said is car companies are not able to sell cars because cars are not being produced in such numbers as what the customers are demanding. And thereby there is a waiting list of 8 to 9 months for some of the models. Now, why they are not able to produce? Because there is a chip shortage. Okay. And chip is an important aspect of a car. It's a computer. Okay. They call it chip for different reasons. So, so when you talk about it, if without that, the car cannot come out. Now, somebody came out with a wonderful idea of how to solve this problem. You cannot increase your production. I said some models, there's a waiting list of 8 to 9 months. Okay, so what did this CMO or the marketing wizard in that company thought of and took a decision, and they are finding success with it? What did they do? This is the question. Facts I gave you, they cannot change because there's a chip shortage, and the chip shortage is because of the global supply chains getting affected thanks to COVID. You all know global supply chains because they are very, very complex today. It is not that it's only China, the manufacturing capital of the world. No, there are others who are in that supply chain. Somewhere something gets affected, the whole supply chain stops. So if it is work at 100% capacity, the supply chain as a whole spread over maybe 20 countries, 30 countries, that's how they're integrated. It may be working at 50%, 40%. That's why there is a shortage. So what is it that this marketing wizard of this company, I'm not remembering which company, but generally the automobile car manufacturer decided or took a decision, and thereby is able to meet the demand and increase the sale. What you would have done?
Sir, may I speak? Kushal?
Yeah, please.
Sir, like pre-order program.
Okay. But then you are right, Kushal. That's why there is a waiting period of 8 to 9 months. Anybody else?
Sir, if the customer wants that particular model only, then he or she must wait, which the company waiting period have provided them.
Okay, Bharat. If you are the CMO, what you will do? What you have stated is correct, and that's why there is a waiting period. What will be your inputs to the people in the showroom who actually directly interact with the customer? What will you say as a CMO?
Sir, I will try to sell my other models.
Great. It's so simple. Now, it is not other models.
Because I know that the waiting period of that particular model is very long, and some customers are like that. They need it just like in COVID scenario. They need more privacy. So they are more to buy a car by now only.
Okay. And now you are right, Bharat. You can you think a little more, or somebody else can add to? He said models. Something else. Now, Bharat, tell me, and all of you, it's not just Bharat, all of you, please tell me, you have gone to the, what you call Maruti, what is that, Nexa showroom, and you want to buy a Baleno. You will not buy, what is the big one, CS, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Then what to do? You understand? You see, you want a car like Baleno for various reasons. So people may say budget, yes, one of it, but the most important is you need to also have today space to park. Ciaz needs more space. The second is driving Ciaz and driving Baleno. There are two different experiences on Delhi roads or in Indian roads in general. Smaller car is easier to park, easier to drive in the traffic, etc. You will not end up buying a Ciaz. They did something very interesting. And what is it? When you look at Baleno or any of the models, so of Maruti Suzuki, you have an LX, and what is that? LX, VX, ZX. They call it what? LX something.
Yes, sir. These are the particular segments of that Baleno model.
Yes. Okay. Each one has the same thing. So you have an LX one, you have a VX, you have a ZX. I want to buy a Baleno ZX for which there is a 90, what you call 9 months waiting. Now, what they said is, the what you call showroom employee will convince you, sir, why do you want to wait for 9 months? I'm giving you a Baleno of VX, not LX. LX has not many features. There's not much of a difference between VX and ZX. So please go for VX because that is in stock. And the customer will think, I want to buy a Baleno. I don't want to buy. If I tell the customer buy a Ciaz because I have 50 of them lying in my, what you call, warehouse. No, within that, they said, go for the higher end model. No, if that is the problem, go for a lower end model. Now they found a solution. A decision has been taken that try to convince the customer. And as you have said, Bharat, I think all of you agree that what happens is you have competing models in the market. If Maruti Suzuki is not able to, the customer wants to buy today, he will go somewhere else and buy. When I bought a car, maybe 8 years back, S50. So I spoke to so many of these. I spoke to Hyundai. They said, sir, okay, we will come back to you in next 2 hours or 3 hours. And somebody called me in the afternoon. And then I said, no, I've already bought. And he was astonished. Sir, aapne kharid liye? I said, yes. Because it was a Sunday. I said, it was a Sunday. I had to decide because Monday onwards, again, I'll be working. I don't get time. So you lose a customer, you lose forever. you will go and buy somewhere else. And the replacement of a car in India is around 6 to 8 years minimum. So for 8 years, the customer will not come back to you. So after 8 years, you don't know what the market is going to be. So lower end, not the higher end, where they had in stock. So why not? Now you see, there is, when I said there is a wall there, you cannot climb it, but no, somebody found a way to climb it. With all the chip shortages, I'm not saying it is not there. That's why I made this comment for some models. And in that models also, some of this high end and low end and whatever. Okay, great, Bharat and all of you. We go back to what. So that is where your facts are important. You exactly should know that, okay, there are different chips for all this. ZX has different features. Now, if you see the chip of a MG Hector, it's absolutely different because they say when they introduce it's an IoT car. Okay,
Yes,
so the chip is different. Now, when you are looking at that, maybe the chips at the lower end of the model, yeah, are available because they have few, what you call lesser features. Yeah. So that can be the reason. But this is what I read and I said, oh, my goodness, somebody found a solution. And thereby it is easy to convince, and at the same time, you are not losing the customer. The customer may not wait. And those who are waiting will wait because they have decided I will buy a ZX-V and not what, of Baleno, or I will buy a Cia ZX-V. I will wait. Okay.
So
Sir.
that kind of people are we can say brand loyalty people.
Yes, absolutely. They will not. They will be with you. Yeah, sorry. Somebody else said something.
Sir, I was asking, wouldn't that make customer upset because of compromise?
Kushal, you are right. You are right. Now, there are two perspectives. One is a perspective from the customer, and one is a perspective from the marketer or the seller. What I said is from the seller's side. Now, it is for, if Kushal, you enter the showroom today to buy a car, it is for that salesperson to convince you so that you end up buying, okay, a lower end version of the same model, but at the same time, okay, you don't have what we call as post-purchase dissonance. What you said. That means you bring the car to your house and you start seeing the badge of it, VX, VX, VX. I wanted to buy a ZX. And that leads to dissonance. That leads to dissatisfaction. Okay. Now, it is the duty of the salesperson to see that this post-purchase dissonance comes down, is reduced to the minimum. Okay. So, absolutely, from a customer perspective, what we say is correct. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But what we discussed is from a seller's perspective. Okay, how to solve this issue. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Somebody said, what is innovation, design, and creativity? Okay, there is a question here. So Ganesh, good question. Today's, I will not venture into design thinking, but I'll only say something very basic, which as a student of management, I have learned from my gurus and I tell my students. What is it? If you're able to understand the word or the phrase, you know what it is about. Okay. Now, when we talk about creativity and when we talk about, creativity, people say out of box thinking. Now, the first thing is you need to understand that you are in a box. And you need to identify the box, then only you can start thinking out of box. Creativity, what I said in the beginning is I put this cultural box we are into, and this cultural box is the one that creates these problems for us to think critically, critical thinking, evidence-based reasoning. That's what is one of the ways of looking at critical thinking. The reason is once you identify that, then it will be different. But as long as you don't identify the box, then you cannot be creative, you cannot be innovative. Now, they are overlapping concepts, but design, I'll give you an example which has nothing to do with, what I'm teaching, but something to do with something very useful to all of us. And what is it? Now, this book by C.K. Prahalad, what is it? Deciding About the Future. Just check that. That's the most sold non-fiction book in the world. In the beginning, he writes about, certain things. And he says, if you're working in a company, you start analyzing or thinking about your top management. If your top management are maintenance engineers, they only maintain, their maintenance engineers, then he says you don't have a future. The company doesn't have a future, leave and go. But if there are architects, then you have a future, stick to the company. Now, what he says about maintenance engineers, and most of the companies which have failed in this world, the top management have been maintenance engineers. They're trying to maintain the present, whereas the present will not be the same in the next 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years. And if the top management is a maintenance engineers, then the company goes down the tube. That means the company does not or ceases to exist or dies a natural death, because the top management has not equipped the company to face this unknown future. So an architect, now you start thinking. Somebody was talking to me here in Bhavan. So I said, okay, about what you call something. Anyway, some subject, I'll tell you. Okay, so I said, look, I gave an example. I said, okay, you want to train these people? You see an ad in the papers. Okay, designed by Hafiz Contractor. Yes, and one of the most celebrated architects in India today. Yeah. So a full page ad comes, designed by Hafiz Contractor. So I said, what does Hafiz Contractor do? What we say creative. He creates something. So those days, today it is different because we have computers and we have software for it. He will draw with his pencil. Okay, this is how the building looks like. So he'll give you 4, 5, 6, views of the buildings. And then you say, okay, I want this. Now, when he says, I want this, what is it that he does? Beyond that, he doesn't do anything. Then it goes to structural engineers and all that, and they'll say beams and, what you call your pillars and how big and how small and how whatever, all those technicalities will go into it. What has he done? He created. I'll give you another example, an old example. You must have seen this building, but a lot of people don't know about it. Is the LIC building right next to Regal Theatre, which comes on the outer circle of Connaught Place, and also the Parliament Street, which starts or which ends there, whichever way you look at it. Now, this has 2 facades. One is a red sandstone, sheer sandstone, 10, 12 floors. The other is glass. A lot of criticism happened, and there is something which those days we used to call it as I'm forgetting. I'll just tell you that this thing. It's called space structures. They're called. So there is a sheer pillar that goes up, and there is a structure which is put there on the top, which is in hexagonal. And everybody criticized. I think he's Hafiz a Contractor or one of the other very famous architects. Now they never realized what was he thinking about, and why this red sandstone versus glass. And both are part of the same building, and that is innovative and it's creative also. And there is a design element there, which I said the space structure and all that. But basically look at red sandstone and glass. What does it show? Anybody? No? We have 3, if I'm not wrong, 1, 2, 3, I think 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in Delhi. Can somebody name them? I'll give 1, Humayun's tomb. A lot of people may not know it. The second one, Qutub Minar. What is the third one? Opposite Chandni Chowk, what do you have?
Red Fort,
Yeah. And why it is called Bharat Red Fort?
because it seems to be red.
It's made of red sandstone.
Red sandstone, yes, sir.
And where does it come from? It comes from who is the Shah Jahan built it. Yes.
Shah Jahan's building,
Shah
yes, sir.
Jahan is considered the builder of Mughals. Okay, he built it. Now, what does it show? It shows the tradition. Yes. Traditionally, red sandstone. On the other side, the glass is the modern. So the architect wanted to tell the world, the people, not people who are inhabiting this building, but for all of us from outside, look, there is something traditional and there is something modern. There's something else which never happened, is on a clear day, something else very important. Again, it goes with the tradition with modern. You can see the reflection of Jama Masjid in the glass structure. On a clear day, the clear day can never happen in Delhi. You all know fog and smog and pollution and all that. But that is what 10 floor structure. Now you see, what is it? It is otherwise he would have had a glass structure. Okay, this building came up when all those buildings, most of them on Kasturba Gandhi Marg and Barakamba Road were built. But nobody ever gave that kind of a thing. And after that, the Statesman's House, which is there on Barakamba, that, again, corner to Outer Ring Road, you can see Statesman building. It doesn't have that kind of a, this thing. It's a sheer multi-story building with concrete and glass. Okay. So when you look at it, again, I go back to creativity is something very different. At the same time, when you talk about creativity and when you look at what we call business enterprises, there has to be a marriage between being creative and practical. And when you talk about it, what is it I'm telling you? When you talk of a product, okay, it is like, that Dilip Chabria made a Nano which costed ₹1 crore because he redesigned the Nano. Please, Nano. Okay, remember that a car that failed. He redesigned the car and made it gold coated and all that and sold it for some customer wanted it. So 1 crore it costed. You can only manufacture one car in that. And if you want in numbers, it cannot be done. So there has to be a marriage between being creative and practical. And the other example I give, which I think you must have known, is that when Tata Motors came out with Indica, the car was designed at their engineering research center, they call it in Pune, but then they could not produce it in numbers. They wanted a car to be produced around 150,000, 150,000 cars a year. The design was not appropriate for mass production. Then they sent the design to an independent design company in Italy, and the Italian design company changed and made it practical. Now you see that's the difference. So when we look at it, yes, creativity is important, but it has to be married to practicality. Now innovation, when you said, I'll give you another concept and very interesting, and which is a fact today, is Clayton Christensen, who is a professor from Harvard. He is a great human being. You need to read about, he has his website. Please go and read, about disruptive innovation. Now he talks this concept he gave to the world long time back. And when I say long time back, the examples that he took in the beginning was PCs, the personal computers versus the mainframe computers. The mainframe computer people, that's IBM that time, never thought that this small, those days small, compared to a mainframe computer, is going to kill the mainframe computers forever. Now, somewhere he says somebody made this small personal computer, and this great individual, Bill Gates, came out with Windows as an operating system, and it changed the world forever, the way we compute. It changed the world forever, and thereby one industry totally died. The second example he gives is your digital cameras or digital photography. Now, it has nothing to do with cameras. It is digital imaging. So when you talk about digital imaging, it's very different from the one, even I have those cameras even today. I used to be an avid photographer. So you have those reels and it has to be developed. You really don't know until it is developed how the image is going to be. Okay, so there is a lot of skill of the photographer is needed. You have to get trained. Not that you don't get trained today, but then there is so much of support today. And you can instantly see the picture and then click it. Then you can do your photoshopping and do your softwares, etc., etc. But at the same time, when you look at this disruptive innovation, please read about it. It's very important because that is the past, that is the present, and that's the future. And when I say disruptive innovation, yeah, please remember that this pandemic has created so many disruptive innovations. Yeah, Mohan Kumar, you wanted to say something? No? Okay, I put it, sorry. Okay, so I think I tried to answer a little bit. Yeah, Sunidhi, you want to say something? Okay, so I try to give you a perspective because there are theories of innovation. Sometime when we get time, and if Mr. Kumar and Sumit Rastogi calls me again, I'll I'll talk about it because it needs a lot of time. But coming back to, I'll just wrap it up in 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I don't need 10 minutes. Please remember, we looked at facts, and those facts have to be relevant, appropriate, and credible. And when I say credible, please remember that I always tell my students, I tell everybody that if you're talking of the population of India, now the census has a website. Yeah, Census Commissioner has a website. Go there and take that 2011 census, because we are not done it after that thanks to the pandemic. That data that you get from this website, there is nothing more credible than that. Because what else? You can't count. You see, census is, your professor Rastogi will tell you, because he teaches statistics, what is census and what is, yeah.
The software to count or make the population we can record.
Yeah, but it's not software. They go house to house.
House to house. Sorry, door to statistical collection of data.
Yes, and the most expensive, the most time consuming, and then software comes into picture today. Okay, yes, but then where else on population of India, different demographic factors, if you want to look at the Indian population, except for this website of the Census Commissioner of India, that's the most credible. So when your facts are credible, people will believe, yes, your facts are correct because the source from which you have taken is correct. That's the first step. I said the second, appropriate. They have to be not a nonsensical correlation. What I was saying, there has to be, those facts are appropriate for. I should not talk about, when I'm talking about this cars and what is it, I start talking about, what you call coronavirus, and coronavirus has affected car manufacturing. No, it has not. The reason is, it is the chip shortage and not the coronavirus. Coronavirus in turn has problems with the manufacturing of the chips because various countries have various issues with the pandemic. But we have, what we have done, yeah, again, I give you a fact here, is that most of the companies, whether they are in services sector or they're in manufacturing, at their cost, they have vaccinated all their employees and labor, because no company wants that they should close down or they should stop their operations because the people, one, are falling sick, or second, they are not vaccinated and thereby falling sick. So they have done it at their cost. Okay, so please keep this in mind, that they have to be appropriate. The other is, whenever you are taking a decision, you see that these facts that you have collected, and how do they affect each other? What kind of an impact they have on each other? And that is analysis. And based on that, take a decision. if we have a relaxed lockdowns till date in India, and today the Prime Minister, not that the Prime Minister of India is taking things lightly, no, he is meeting the CMs of all the states today. He has already had a meeting, I think on Saturday or so. This is just with his own health ministry and everybody. The reason is there are facts there, which I started with, and those facts cannot be questioned because this is something that has already happened in South Africa. So based on that. The second, vaccination, whatever people say, will give you certain amount of protection. There is something else. There is a fact which I have not stated, is that there is a kind of herd immunity that has already come. This was 6 months back. Okay, they do the sero surveys, the serum surveys, they're called. They're also based on a sample. It's not a census, but in spite of it, they said there is 70% or so, herd immunity that is already there. Thereby, it may not affect us. So thereby the decisions that they're taking, but they've already taken certain decisions. Equipping hospitals with oxygen, everything, whatever happened during the second wave should not happen again. Okay. Now, if you're able to do that, your decision making, people will accept and implement your decisions. Why am I saying that? Tomorrow, you're making a wonderful presentation, so you're very good at making PPTs. Not like me, I just put some facts there. Colorful and all kinds of things. But then if your top management or the people are not convinced, then all that is futile. You want that the decisions that you are saying are appropriate should be accepted and implemented. So please remember, when you talk about it, always think of facts and do not ever say, I feel so. This phrase should never come out, this sentence. No, it's not I feel so. These are the facts. Thereby, I conclude this is need to be done. So when I talk about disruptive innovation, I give you the last example, which I think for some of the professors here or from the education management side will understand. I said, I always say, who is Upgrad? Does Upgrad know anything about higher education? Nothing. He's just an aggregator. Now he is the biggest competitor today to higher education institutions in India. Now, what is it that he did? Have you ever thought of it? He's another Amazon for me. He just brought all these people on a platform. They're offering their services. And then what does Upgrad do? They just sell the services.
Providing the degrees.
No, degrees is Upgrad doesn't provide. It's the institution that provides. It's just an aggregator.
It's a platform.
That's
it's
it.
An integrated platform.
It's an Amazon. Yes or no?
Yes,
Bharat, you can go to Amazon today and sell your product, yes? Or service?
Yes, sir. Yes,
there
sir.
Are people, yeah.
A quick question.
Hmm.
Sir, isn't disruptive innovation going downward? It is not progressive. I don't think it is progressive.
Why do you think so? Why do you think so?
As a consumer, normal consumer, you are being motivated to live with bare minimum. Bare minimum of product quality. You don't. The consumer are being induced to do this. So isn't this unprogressive as a society view?
No, when you say bare minimum,
yeah.
What is it? Can you give me an example?
So I've done a quick research. The disruptive innovation is like giving the same the product line to the low end of the low end market customers. Okay, so for example, we have a smartphone, sir. We
Kushal, Kushal, you can ask your question in Hindi also. Sir will.
Yeah, absolutely, no issues.
Yes,
no issues.
yes,
we are
yes.
all bilingual,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Sir, I will try to speak in English. Okay?
No, you should. Yeah, I'll also tell you why. Kushal, go ahead. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Okay.
We need to practice English, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Smartphones. You said smartphones. Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have a new improving in technology in smartphone. That's okay. In future we will have a transparent smartphone as shot by everyone. Okay. And as a customer, as a customer, low end customer, as a example, sir, you still have to live with low end smartphone like this. Okay. So doesn't that make you feel inferior?
Okay. Okay. I'll give you actually what happened in Indian market. Okay. I have this phone, which is a Redmi phone. Okay. Now, what is it that Redmi did? None of us know about Redmi. Okay. It is not Apple. Okay. It is not iPhone. Let's face it. Okay. It can never be iPhone. Okay. For various reasons, because this is an Android based phone and iPhone is based on iOS, which is their own proprietary software that they use or OS that they use. However, they came out. You see, the thing is that when you talk about it's not disruptive innovation, it is understanding the customer and the customer needs. Now, there are customers like me, and not one, there are very many of them, because in India, the Indian customer, how do you define the Indian customer? He is a value for money customer, he or she. So we are, why if Maruti Suzuki is still the market leader? Because they give you value for money. We look for value for money. So what is it? When I asked, my IT guy here, "Arey sir, you take this." I said, okay, why? Because Redmi does not manufacture everything. Okay, they just put together. So he says, sir, the CPU is MediaTek, which others also use. Samsung, I'm not saying, let's not get into Apple or iPhone. Samsung also uses. So what is the speed? The clock speed of your motherboard there, etc., etc. So this is the best phone. I paid 7,000 rupees to buy it. Now you do have a segment of the market which wants the features far superior to a 5,000 rupee phone of a smartphone, but at the same time they don't want to pay beyond 10,000. And this segment, this is documented. I'm not saying it's my research, it's documented. This segment Redmi started catering to, and a runaway success in numbers that they sell. It's a hardy phone. The reason is it does have all the features. I'm not saying it doesn't have, it supports all the features. It has a very good memory, etc., etc. Thereby the speed doesn't go down. Yeah. Now that is segmentation and understanding the customer. There are customers who still buy iPhones. Whatever I say, why do you pay a lakh of rupees for a phone? I said human beings are irrational. They will still buy. Okay, that is there. You know what we talked about the cars, and Bharat was saying, and others also said loyal. They will wait for 9 months for the car. You can't do anything, and you are happy as a marketer. But then, what is disruptive innovation is, let's say that it's an innovation. It's something that happened in an industry which has nothing to do with the industry in which you are functioning. But by the time you realize it has affected you. And why I said upgrade as an example is that, if somebody asks me, Amazon and Flipkart have not done what, e-tailing or e-commerce to the retailers, because it's cultural, it's different. There are so many other factors why, as they call pop and mom shops, we also have anglicized, this thing. Otherwise, I say the neighborhood shop or the kirana shop or whatever you call it. Yeah, Parchuniya Dukan, we say, they will still survive in India for various other reasons. But there is a segment of the market which goes for Amazon, and that has increased in numbers thanks to the pandemic. They will also be there. Now, where do you want to be? You cannot replicate. You see, with all the resources, Flipkart and this company, what is the American company, the retailer which owns it, could not replicate the logistics system of Amazon. Even today, I have done this. My personal experience is, is that. And if you look at Big Basket and what is Grofers and look at JioMart, which always sells groceries. It's pathetic with JioMart. With all the backing of Jio platforms and, you know, Reliance and the kind of thousands of crores of money, they will take 7 days, 8 days. And every time on the website it comes, due to the pandemic, the what you call deliveries can vary. So they will not give you a delivery date also. So I ordered something on JioMart for something that was available. Now, day before I go home, I get a part of it. So I said, what happened to the rest? Then I see a message, no, it will be delivered on 15th. And I've ordered, I think, 8 days back. Now, you do that on Amazon, they will give you 15th and they will give you by 14th. But they will tell 15th we will deliver. So there is a difference in the processes. But at the same time, this innovation that happens in some unrelated industry, please, that's why I go to Christensen and read it. Wonderful concept. At the same time, I say 2-3 things to all the students. One is, please read Porter's 5 forces theory. That is as applicable as when it was postulated by, you know, Michael Porter. The same is with disruptive innovation, because that has become the order of the day. Okay, so we should not, I'm not saying that it is slowed down or it is, no, it has nothing to do with that. It is something else, unrelated, please remember. Now, when MG Hector came into the market, when my student in the class said, sir, I said, why is it so expensive? Sir, it's an IoT car. I said, what is IoT? For a normal individual. He explained in his own way. Now, what is it? You have your smartphone. So if you want to actually enjoy the benefits of a MG Hector, you need to have a smartphone. Now you see how they are related. Now, if you have a smartphone, everything is there on the phone and you can manage your car with your phone. So they say keyless entry, that, you know, small things I'm saying. But then MG Hector could do that basically because you have these evolved smartphones today with all of us. Okay. Anything else? So go back to, please, facts and facts. Do not say, I feel so. You say, these are the facts I've collected from these sources which are credible. And thereby, I'm saying that this will be, or this is going to happen, and we need to take this decision today. Okay. Now, when we talk about, education sector, I can talk a lot, but, you know, whatever I have on my mind is the traditional classes will slowly go away. Now, when I say that, you need to look at it. The same way in any industry that you are functioning, you need to keep that in mind, that yes, the traditional way of doing business has changed. When I say traditional, what used to happen a week back, so not a week back, sorry, 2 years back, 3 years back, and today. Okay. Any other question? There's a lot to talk about on critical thinking. There's a lot to talk about on all this. And Sumit knows me very well, so I can keep talking for hours. Yeah. But then, yes, we have time limitations. Anything else? So all yours.
So, dear participants, if you have any query, then you can ask. Okay, sir, we are very grateful to have you as a valued speaker, sir. And I would like to invite Dr. Sumit, sir, to kindly facilitate our speaker with a token of love and e-memento.
Hi, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, it's great listening to you. And it was again honor to listen to you. So on behalf of IIC Galgotias University, I present a memento to you. It's a virtual, but the feelings are same.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, sir, for your precious time. And we will invite you in the future also. And thank you so much, sir.
Great, my pleasure. And I really enjoyed the session. Thanks to both of you, Sumit and Gaurav. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful session, very interactive session. And the session is full with the very filled with the highly informative value with the critical. You have make learn our participant with the critical learning and their application in the science, as well as for the startup, for the several aspect of that thinking. So sir, we are very obliged to have you as a speaker. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
So we have another speaker in this session, Mr. Vishal Pandey, sir. So I would like to invite Vishal Pandey, sir.
Hello, thank you, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. So you can start, sir. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so first of all, good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. So once again, the COVID put us on the virtual mode.
Good afternoon,
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir.
Are you liking that?
No, sir. Sir, only a bit.
ओके सो जैसा कि सर ने इंट्रो मेरा दे दिया था कि मैं रेडिकोडर में एज ए एचआर मैनेजर हूँ, तो बेसिकली हम लोग जो भी इस टॉपिक पे बात करेंगे वो इंडस्ट्री से रिलेटेड ही बात करेंगे कि इंडस्ट्री में कैसे डिजाइन थिंकिंग, आपका क्रिएटिविटी थिंकिंग, इनोवेशन डिजाइन कैसे इंडस्ट्री में है, कैसे काम करता है, क्या इसका इम्पोर्टेंस है, उस सारी चीजों पे हम अभी बात करेंगे। तो अगर देखा जाए कि जो हमारा पहले जो इंडस्ट्री जिस चीज पे काम करती थी वो क्या करती थी कि पहले आपको वो प्रोडक्ट बना देती थी, प्रोडक्ट बना के जब मार्केट में उसको सेल करती थी, देन उससे जो फीडबैक मिलता था, जो कस्टमर उन्हें फीडबैक देते थे, देन दैट प्रोडक्ट। तो उसमें क्या होता था कि आपको बहुत सारा टाइम लग जाता था इंडस्ट्री को अपने प्रोडक्ट को रीडिजाइन करने में। Then the concept of design thinking and the innovation design and the creativity thinking comes in the market, and although people are not having much knowledge about it, that how do people work, industry work, what is the relevance of it. So many thoughts comes in our mind when we think about the design thinking. Suppose that a company is making a product or solving a problem, then they started going through steps. They have to follow some steps. जैसे कि हम ये समझ सकते हैं कि जैसे कि हमने, जैसे many of the यूज आर फ्रॉम कंप्यूटर साइंस ब्रांच, तो हम ये समझ सकते हैं जैसे हमने एक कोड को रखा, कोड को रन किया, तो हम टेस्ट केसेस पास करते हैं। तो वैसे कंपनी क्या करती है कि अपने जो प्रोडक्ट बनाती है उसको भी अपने टेस्ट केसेस पास करने होते हैं, उसको अपने टेस्ट करने पड़ते हैं कि क्या हमारा जो प्रोडक्ट है वो कस्टमर की नीड को सेटिस्फाइड कर पाएगा कि नहीं। तो इसके लिए जो टेस्ट केसेस पास करती है वो तो अपना अलग हो गया, लेकिन जो डिजाइन थिंकिंग कंपनी का जो होता है वो टेस्ट केसेस से भी अलग होता है। कंपनी इसमें ये सोचती है कि जो प्रोडक्ट का जो फीडबैक हम बाद में लें कस्टमर से, वो क्यों ना हम पहले ही ले लें कि कस्टमर को कैसा प्रोडक्ट चाहिए, क्या उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट है। अगर वो डेटा हमें मिल जाए और उसकी एनालिसिस पे अगर हम अपने प्रोडक्ट को डिजाइन करें, तो माइट बी इन वेरी लेस टाइम इट बूस्ट द मार्केट। इसलिए कंपनी क्या करती है कि सबसे पहले अपना डिजाइन थिंकिंग करती है प्रोडक्ट की, उसके बाद से ही उसकी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग अब स्टार्ट करती है। अगर हम जैसे कि हम एक एग्जांपल दे सकते हैं कि जैसे बंगाल में एक गांव था, अब गांव में ये हो गया था कि पानी के लिए लोगों को बहुत दूर जाना पड़ता था। तो गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया कि एक सप्लाई सिस्टम लगा दिया वहां पे कि आप फ्रेश वाटर ले लो, लेकिन वहां पे लोग क्या करते थे कि लोग वहां पे जाते नहीं थे। तो व्हाट दे आर मिसिंग, द गवर्नमेंट मिसिंग द डिजाइन थिंकिंग प्रोसेस। डिजाइन थिंकिंग प्रोसेस गवर्नमेंट ने मिस करा, इसके वजह से उनका ये प्रोग्राम फेल हुआ। अब ये हम सोचेंगे कि आखिर डिजाइन थिंकिंग प्रोसेस में क्या क्या चीजें आती हैं। तो सबसे पहले हम ये डिजाइन थिंकिंग में सबसे पहला चीज आता है वो होता है हमारा इम्पैथी। इम्पैथी को हम ऐसे समझ सकते हैं कि लोगों की प्रॉब्लम को हम समझ लें कि लोगों की क्या प्रॉब्लम है, क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है, और उस बेसिस पे हम अपने डिजाइन को इम्प्लीमेंट करें। दैट इज द एम्पैथी। दूसरा बात करें हम अगर डिफाइन की, तो एम्पैथी से जो हमने डेटा एब्जॉर्ब किया, डेटा को, फैक्ट को कलेक्ट किया, जो लोगों की रिक्वायरमेंट को, जो रिक्वायरमेंट थी उनको जाना, उसके बाद हमने जो अपना प्रोडक्ट बनाया, जो हमने चीजों को इम्प्लीमेंट करी, दैट इज द डिफाइन। नाउ अगर हम आगे इसके तरफ बढ़ते चलें तो हम ये कह सकते हैं कि डिजाइन थिंकिंग इज ओनली जस्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन द मार्केट and how better we can cater the position in the market। मार्केट में क्या चल रहा है और मार्केट में हम अपनी पोजीशन को कैसे बना सकते हैं, इसको समझने के लिए डिजाइन थिंकिंग बहुत जरूरी है, और ये कॉन्सेप्ट आया। सो अगर हमको कोई चीज को, प्रोडक्ट हम बना रहे हैं, तो सबसे पहले हम क्या करते हैं, उसकी सेलिंग को देखते हैं कि हम एक टारगेट सेट करते हैं कि हम इस प्रोडक्ट की सेल इतना करेंगे। हर कंपनी अपने प्रोडक्ट की एक सेलिंग रेंज रखती है कि हम इस साल में ये प्रोडक्ट बना रहे हैं तो हम इतना इसको सेल करेंगे ही करेंगे। अगर इफ देन कि उस कंपनी का प्रोडक्ट उतना नहीं चला, नहीं सेल हुआ, तो वो कंपनी क्या करती है कि कन्वर्सेशन स्टाइल से उसको सेल करने लगती है। जैसे कि हम एग्जांपल ले सकते हैं, जैसे आप, वेरी कॉमन एग्जांपल है, जैसे हम डेली लाइफ में सर्फ एक्सेल एग्जांपल निकाला एडवर्टाइज के लिए कि दाग अच्छे हैं। आप सोच सकते हो कि उसने कितनी अच्छी थिंकिंग करी, इस लाइन में दाग अच्छे हैं। उसका मतलब ये नहीं था कि हाँ कि मेरा जो प्रोडक्ट है वही सिर्फ है, वही सिर्फ गंदगी साफ हो सकती है, नहीं, दाग अच्छे हैं और मेरा प्रोडक्ट भी इस दाग को साफ कर सकता है। तो द लेवल ऑफ थिंकिंग you can understand better। so हम ये बोल सकते हैं कि so if you want to be in market you have to empathize with the people। another example हम ये अगर देखें कि हम जो छोटे बच्चे किंडर जॉय खाते हैं, तो किंडर जॉय में कंपनी जो डिजाइन थिंकिंग करी कि उसने ये सोचा कि इसको स्क्वायर या फिर कोई और शेप देने से अच्छा कि इसको हम एग का शेप देते हैं। उसमें एग का शेप देने में उनका ये कॉन्सेप्ट आया कि वो सोचे कि जो छोटे बच्चों का जो पाम होता है, हैंड्स, उनका जो पाम होता है वो छोटा है, तो वो जो आपका किंडर जॉय का जो डिजाइन है वो उनके पाम में फिट हो जाए, उस हिसाब से उन्होंने डिजाइन थिंकिंग करी कि हम अपने प्रोडक्ट की डिजाइनिंग कैसे करें, कितना रखें कि जो छोटे बच्चे उनके हाथ में वो फिट हो जाए। और उसके बाद से भी कंपनी ने बहुत सारा स्ट्रेटजीज अपनाया, फीडबैक लिया, और फिर धीरे धीरे करके जो मार्केट में बहुत सारी ऐसी कंपनी आने लगी जिन्होंने किंडर जॉय जैसा सिमिलर प्रोडक्ट बनाने लगा, तो देयर इज अ सैचुरेशन इन द मार्केट। तो फिर उन्होंने ये भी दिमाग लाया कि क्यों ना हम एक काम करें कि जो डिजाइन तो है, तो वो अपना डिजाइन, चलो ठीक है, एक शेप का डिजाइन तो पाम में फिट हो गया, लेकिन अब जो सैचुरेशन आ गई है मार्केट में, तो उसको कैसे ठीक किया जाए। तो ये उन्होंने ये सोचा कि चलो ठीक है, एक हम कलर का डिजाइन लाया उन्होंने। दे मेक द किंडर जॉय इन ब्लू कलर और इन पिंक कलर। So what happened, why to some तो उन्होंने कम्युनिकेशन स्किल को मेंटेन करने के लिए, अपनी बात को कस्टमर तक पहुंचाने के लिए, कस्टमर की बात को प्रोडक्ट के थ्रू पहुंचाने के लिए, द बेस्ट अप्रोच इज द डिजाइन थिंकिंग। हम अगर डिजाइन थिंकिंग अपना सही रखें, डिजाइन नीड को सेटिस्फाई कर सकते हैं, कोई सा भी नीड हो कस्टमर का, वो हम इजीली सॉर्ट आउट कर सकते हैं डिजाइन थिंकिंग की वजह से। और इससे ये हेल्प होता है कि मतलब जब हम एक नए आइडिया को लॉन्च करते हैं या फिर नए प्रोडक्ट को लॉन्च करते हैं, तो जो रिस्क होती है वो बहुत रिड्यूस हो जाती है इसमें। नाउ जैसे कि टाइम तो बहुत कम है, तो हम थोड़ा थोड़ा हर टॉपिक पे डिटेल ले लेते हैं। सो अगर हम क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग की बात करें, तो क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग बहुत बड़ा चीज नहीं है। क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग, you have been lot of thoughts, suppose you have been lot of thoughts, many thoughts. out of those thoughts out of those thoughts, if you have to filter, if you are able to filter like a funnel and identify which is the best for you, that is the critical thinking. इन सिंपल वर्ड में हम ये कह सकते हैं कि अगर आपके पास बहुत सारे आइडियाज हैं, बहुत सारे थॉट हैं, तो उन थॉट में से कौन सा थॉट आपके लिए सूटेबल, आपके लिए बेस्ट है, दैट इज द क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग। अब क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग में हमारे जितने भी डब्ल्यूज है वो कम आ जाते हैं, जैसे कि वाई, हुम, ये सब कुछ हमारा क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग में ही आता है। अब जैसे कि वाई बेनिफिट फ्रॉम दैट प्रोडक्ट, व्हाट आर द बेनिफिट्स, वाई हु मेक्स डिसीजन अबाउट दिस, हु इज द हार्मफुल टू, हु इज द मोस्ट डायरेक्टली अफेक्टेड, ये सारी चीजें हमारे क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग में आ जाती हैं इजीली। क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग इज नॉट लाइक कि जस्ट सेइंग कि if you have an idea and that idea you have to implement, so the best approach for that idea to be implemented is a critical thinking. और अगर हम इनोवेशंस की बात करें, जैसे कि अब इनोवेशंस और हमारा क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग या फिर में थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस ये हो जाता है कि जब जो हमारे बहुत बच्चे कंफ्यूजन में ये रहते हैं कि जो critical thinking is the same, but there is a difference between them, that और वो आइडिया अभी तक बना ही नहीं है। तो आप उस आइडिया को जो अपने हिसाब से इंप्लीमेंट करते हो मार्केट में, दैट इज द क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग। आपने सोचकर उस आइडिया पे काम करा और फिर आपने उसको इंप्लीमेंट करा, दैट इज द क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग। और इनोवेशन इज समथिंग दैट पहले से कुछ है और उसको हमने रीडिफाइन करके एक नया कुछ बनाया, दैट इज द इनोवेशन। सो इनोवेशन इज इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ न्यू आइडिया into the market in the form of new product or services or an improvement in organization is the innovation. एक एग्जांपल मुझे याद आ रहा है इनोवेशन पे, एक एड आता था पहले कि जैसे कि एक कोई ओल्ड एज पर्सन है और उनको आई साइट का प्रॉब्लम है या उनको कोई ऐसी डिजीज है जिससे वो चीजों को भूल जाते हैं इजीली। तो उसमें ये दिखाया गया था कि अगर वो घर से चले जाते हैं कहीं, उनको चीजें याद नहीं, उनका एड्रेस नहीं याद आता, तो घर से अगर चले जाता है और उनको कैप्चर करना, उनको ट्रैक करना हो, तो उसमें ये इनोवेट किया गया कि उनके चश्मे में जीपीएस लगा दिया गया, फिर ऐसा सेंसर लगा देते थे कि हम उनको ट्रैक कर सकें। दैट इज द इनोवेशन। स्पेक्टिकल्स पहले से थे, उसके हेल्प से हमने एक नया प्रोडक्ट बनाया जिससे हम उनको इजीली ट्रैक कर सकते थे, दैट इज द इनोवेशन। अगर स्पेक्टिकल्स नहीं रहता पहले से और हमने आइडिया लगा के स्पेक्टिकल्स बनाते और उसमें ट्रैकिंग सिस्टम लगाते, दैट इज द क्रिएटिंग थॉट, क्रिएटिविटी। और अगर हम इनोवेशन की बात कर सकते हैं तो इनोवेशन तब हम यूज करते हैं व्हेन वी नो व्हाट इज द डिजायरेबल टू द यूजर एंड व्हाट इज द पॉसिबल विथ टेक्नोलॉजी। अगर हम जो चीज सोच रहे हैं, जो चीज बनाना चाहते हैं, क्या वो टेक्नोलॉजी से, अभी प्रेजेंट टेक्नोलॉजी से पॉसिबल है कि नहीं बना पाना, वो भी हमारा इनोवेशन को डिफाइन करने में हेल्प करती है कि अब हम जो सोच रहे हैं, जो चीज बनाना चाहते हैं, वो प्रेजेंट टेक्नोलॉजी की हेल्प से हम नहीं बना सकते हैं, तो दैट इज नॉट, तो हम इनोवेशन कैसे कर पाएंगे उसकी। तो इसलिए जो हमारे इंडस्ट्रीज में इनोवेशन एंड क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग एंड डिजाइन थिंकिंग इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट नाउ अ डे। अगर आपके पास बहुत सारा नॉलेज है और आप जिस चीज को डिलीवर कर रहे हो किसी पर्सन को, और वो पर्सन जो चीज उससे चाहिए होता है वो अगर नहीं मिल पाता उसे, तो आपका नॉलेज वेस्ट है। इन द सेम सिनेरियो द इंडस्ट्री आल्सो वर्क। अगर कस्टमर को जो चीज चाहिए, जो चीज नीड है, जो उसकी डिमांड है, अगर इंडस्ट्री उस डिमांड को फुलफिल कर देती है by applying its design thinking, critical thinking, then it's good। यहाँ पे critical thinking अपना रोल प्ले करा बहुत इफेक्टिव मैनर में। और हम एग्जांपल अगर देख सकते हैं कि जैसे कि ओला है या उबर है, तो वो क्या करते हैं, जो भी ट्रेवलिंग डिस्टेंस होती है और ट्रेवलिंग ड्यूरेशन होती है, उनके टाइम लिमिट बाउंड होता है कि हम यहाँ से यहाँ तक इस टाइम लिमिट में पहुंच जाएंगे। तो ये चीज पहले नहीं थी। जैसे आप ट्रेन से जाते हो, तो ट्रेन से जाते हो तो ये आपको नहीं पता होता है कि हम इतने समय में, ये हो सकती है ट्रेन लेट हो जाए, आपको ये इन्फॉर्म नहीं किया जाएगा कि हाँ सर दिस ट्रेन इज लेट और दैट। तो ओला और उबर में उन्होंने पहले वाले प्रोसेस से कुछ अपने क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग लगा के उन्होंने एक इनोवेशन करा कि वो ड्यूरेशन शो कर देते हैं कि सर वी विल रीच इन दिस ड्यूरेशन, और इफ लेट देन वी विल इन्फॉर्म यू, लाइक दैट। अब आप ये भी सोचो, जैसे ओयो है, ओयो अपना जो फैसिलिटी प्रोवाइड करती है, तो पहले ये था कि जैसे कोई पर्सन गया, उसको होटल चाहिए, तो पहले होटल्स कॉस्टली पड़ जाते थे उनको। तो ओयो जो कॉन्सेप्ट लाया कि जो प्रेजेंट होटल्स थे उनमें, उनसे उन्होंने एक नया इनोवेट किया कि हम अपने कम रेट में हम उसको रीडिफाइंड करके एक नया चीज लाए, जिससे कि लोगों की बहुत हेल्प हुई, जिससे लोगों की जो नीड थी वो फुलफिल हो पाई, जो डिमांड था वो फुलफिल हो पाया लोगों का। दैट इज ऑल अबाउट द डिजाइन थिंकिंग, क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग एंड all that. So at last I just say to all that to think critic and to be innovative. Mr. Gaurav.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for
I think
precise knowledge of critical thinking, and innovative design. So, sir, I would like to request the participant, if you have any query, you can ask.
Just एक मिनट, वेट अ मिनट। जैसे कि हमारी जो मैं जिस कंपनी में काम करता हूँ, हमारी कंपनी भी इसी पे काम करती है, वो भी इन्हीं तीन चीज को लेके चलती है। अब वो हमारी कंपनी जो, वो भी डिजाइन थिंकिंग, क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग पे ही काम करती है। वो जो मार्केट से डेटा कलेक्ट करती है, उन पे वर्क करती है, उनको एनालिसिस करती है, और जो कस्टमर को जो चीज की नीड है उसको डायरेक्टली फुलफिल कर सके, इस चीज पे हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं। अब जैसे हमारा एक नया चीज आया है डाउट फ्री। अब डाउट फ्री की हेल्प से हम स्टूडेंट को, या कॉलेज स्टूडेंट हो या स्कूल स्टूडेंट हो, उनको हम उनके हिसाब से, उनके तरीके से हम उनको नॉलेज दे सकते हैं। और बहुत सारा हमारा अब ये भी है कि जैसे हमने अपना जो कंपनी स्टार्ट, और उससे हमको क्या क्या नॉलेज मिला, उस नॉलेज की हमने एक डिजाइन करी है, उसको प्रॉपर एनालिसिस करा है, और उसमें जो जिसे जिसे हमें हमारे नॉलेज को चाहिए होता है, उसको हम कंसल्टेंसी भी देते हैं। तो ये हमारा सारा ओवरऑल काम है जिसमें कि हमारा डिजाइन थिंकिंग और क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग आते हैं। If anyone wants to ask question, then ask.
Yes, you have any query related to the design thinking, critical thinking, and innovation design, you can ask.
No, sir. Sir has defined everything really well, and we are all clear with every topic, sir.
Harsh,
Thank you so much, sir.
your voice is not coming clearly.
No, sir. No doubts. Everything is clear. Sir has mentioned
Okay.
everything very clearly.
Okay. Anyone?
No, sir.
Any
it's all
other?
fine, sir.
Yes.
It's all fine, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So, thank you, sir. Thank you once again. And for the such gist and informative talk, please accept our gratitude and e-memento as a token of love from the Galgotias University IIC cell.
Thank you, sir.
Vishal sir.
It's very interactive session with all of us. हमें अगर मौका मिला तो फिजिकली जरूर इस वर्कशॉप को फिर से करेंगे पेंडेमिक के बाद।
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much,
Thank
sir.
you, dear participants. I have circulated the feedback form in the chat box. Kindly provide your feedback accordingly. Everyone
Sure, sir. Sure.
get the
Yes,
feedback link?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's
Okay,
in the
okay.
chat.
Thank
box.
you. Thank you
so
for
much.
joining. Without your participation, this event cannot be successful. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
We are going to organize our next session on next event on 22nd of January for the entrepreneurship and skill development.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.